You're listening to the Comic Crusaders Podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. What up, everybody? It's your boy, Al Mega, Undercover Capes, Comic Crusaders. You know what it is. You know what we do. We celebrate independent comic books. We celebrate independent journeys. We celebrate awesome creators and publishers. So guess what? Today's just another day like that. Today, I'm honored to have the co-founder and editor-in-chief of one of the dopest independent brands. So you guys, bro, if y'all don't know about this, y'all sleeping. Fanbase Press. They're doing some really different and wonderful things in the comic book industry. Let me present the one and only Barbra Dillon. Hey!
Hi, Al. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, kiddo, for coming on today and talking about the greatness of what you do along with Fanbase Press, independent comic books, awesome stuff. And not just that, I mean, you guys are multimedia. Y'all got your own podcast too, where you kind of, bring in independent publishers and creators and talk about the greatness of their stuff. So thank you for even doing that too, yo. So it's nice to meet a fellow entrepreneur and CEO in the business. Wepa! I'm excited, girl.
Oh, likewise. Thank you so much for having me. We've been fans of Comic Crusaders for the longest time, and you've given us so much love to our company and our creators for all of our titles. So thank you. We appreciate it immensely.
Thank you, because you guys have been awesome as well. Y'all just like producing some amazing content. So let's talk about that and yourself a little bit. First, It's all about Barbra, yo. Where you from? And tell me about your first dealings with the pop culture and that made you fall in love with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from the East Coast originally, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I grew up as a kid backstage a lot in the theater. My older brother was an actor. And so a lot of times my free time was backstage waiting while he was performing. And through that, I grew an immense love and respect for the arts of all kinds, not just theater, but movies, TV, books, comic books. I also grew up in my mother and father's their own mom and pop convenience store.
You had a mom and pop shop? Nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they had their own old-fashioned spinner rack. They only had about maybe a handful of comics you could pick from, like Archie comics. There was a Barbie Mattel comic, and then the X-Men occasionally. So that was really where I learned about comic books. And it wasn't until the 90s X-Men, the animated series by the Lewalds, that I absolutely grew in love with comic book content and pop culture in general, and have been a huge fan ever since. And I think that really cultivated my love for, comics, movies, TV, absolutely everything. So it really came from a multifaceted approach of living it with my brother and then experiencing it through comics, movies, TV, etc.
I love it. Please tell me you still got that spinner rack somewhere in your collection.
I sadly don't, but a few years back, there was a Kickstarter campaign for a brand new for a brand new spinner rack. And of course, I had to have one. So we got one for our own home. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I need one. Wifey I would drive her crazy. Like, why do we need more mess in the house? I'm like, it's in my corner. Leave me in my stylish. Man garage.
Absolutely.
It's in my man garage. Please, I need it. Yes. I'm a fan. I want to put my goodies in there. Awesome. So let's talk about that. So X-Men. I mean, everybody loved the X-Men. That's like one of the biggest '90s joints, because by then I was a teenager, but my teenage ass was watching that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Before I would go out and get into trouble. So talk about your journey into wanting to create. What was that like? I mean, did you have a supportive family base that wanted you to do this? I mean, where does that journey come from?
Absolutely. So interestingly, I was never the creative one. My brother was always the more artistic one, and I was always much more comfortable behind the scenes. So actually, when I left Pittsburgh after college, I moved to Los Angeles to go to law school, because my intention was always to help creative people do what they love. And I wanted to do that by getting an education in law and then moving to LA to basically be a talent manager and producer. I wanted to very directly help creative people in movies and TV at that time. So I did briefly go to law school, and then I just up and moved to LA and started working at a talent management and production company that worked with a lot of comedy talent like Jim Carrey, Will Ferrell, Judd
Ooh.
Apatow. And then really that's where I got, a firsthand education into what the entertainment industry is like, what Hollywood is like. And that's where I got the seeds of, what, I want to be giving a platform to independent creators. The folks, the Jim Carreys of the world, they're good. They don't need my help, but the folks that really do need help are the ones that maybe, specifically in comics, aren't working for Marvel and DC. But that doesn't in any way mean that they don't have as much talent and shouldn't be given an
Agreed.
opportunity to share their voice and to find an audience for their work. So that's really where the seeds of Fanbase Press began, and where I wanted to, go out on our own shingle and create something to really help those independent creators.
So how was that journey to develop, Fanbase? I mean, how much was the learning curve? How much did you have to
Oh,
get into?
huge. Absolutely. So we started in 2010, and we started with a company. It was called Fanboy Comics way back then.
Oh
Fanboy
my
was,
God, I remember
yeah,
Fanboy. Yes, yes.
absolutely. Yeah. So that was still a very much a catch-all term at that time. And we started working in-house, as we were developing our own graphic novels. While they were
Nice.
working, we were like, we need to build our own fan base because it does take time to create a comic book. And so we started doing reviews. The very first interview that I did was with, oh goodness, I'm forgetting his name. He played Shane from The Walking Dead.
Oh, the Punisher himself.
Yes,
Yeah, yo, get
exactly.
out of that was your first
That was my
interview?
very first interview I
What
ever
a way,
did.
excuse the language here, but what a way to pop the cherry on the interview.
Yes,
God
absolutely.
damn.
John Bernthal, that's his name.
Yes.
He was
Wow.
the sweetest and kindest man, but that really kind of catapulted us into, we can do this, and we can,
How'd
make
you
a thing
feel
of
though?
this.
Wait a minute, I gotta know here. Because again,
Yeah.
when I did my first interview, I was nervous as all
Oh, heck
heck.
yeah.
How did you
Absolutely.
feel? And I mean, especially with him.
Yeah, I was terrified, but you know what? He was still very much on the upswing. I mean, he had done tons of work by then. He had done a lot in theater and in movies and TV, but he had just been coming off season 1 of The Walking Dead. So he was
Oh,
really
he was
kind of,
hot.
he
Yeah.
was hot at that time, but he couldn't have been nicer and really put me at ease. I think we talked on the phone for about an hour and a half. And so it
Oh,
was
nice.
really remarkable and so exciting. But that really kind of led to the duality of our company, which has always existed in that we are both a publisher of content and a media outlet as well. Because even when we are not creating our own comics or other books, we want to be supporting other creators. So we
I
don't see
love
it as
it.
a competition. We're not in competition with other publishers either. We want to be giving a platform and a voice to creators of all kinds of media, not just comics, no matter if we're publishing them or not. So that's really
Oh
been a
God.
twofold mission for us throughout the entire history of the company.
Barbara, we are like siblings from another mother. I swear to God, because that's exactly how I see it. I want to cover all type of content,
Mhm.
regardless of what it is. I mean, yeah, we call comic crusaders, but we do more than just comics.
Yeah,
I mean, to celebrate, just the creative individual, the creative
absolutely.
journey.
Mhm.
Whether it's through music, through comics, through film. It's amazing, and I see you guys doing that, and that's something that inspires me because it's like you said, we're not in competition. We're here
No.
all to celebrate this wonderful fandom of ours. So let's share in that celebration. What's wrong with that? I hate when people think on that competition mode. Like, I love sports, and I would probably beat most people's ass in a sports game, but I'm not that competitive dude. Like, I'd
Sure.
rather just have us vibe together and let's
Mhm.
build something as opposed to, challenging each other. Because you don't want
Exactly.
to challenge me anyway.
Exactly.
I don't want to challenge fan base. I'm scared of Bob. Bob will be
No,
doing some
no.
some wild stuff,
I'm
son.
super
Be out
intimidating.
there.
Super.
I love it.
Yeah.
So talk about breaking in though. How was that journey
Sure.
like?
It was interesting. We learned a lot from books like Making Comics, and we just kind of learned as we went. We always, and we still do. We really started small and made sure that what we were doing we did really well. And if we made mistakes, we learned from them. We're always debriefing and looking back of, how did it go? Is there anything we'd change or do differently? And once we feel comfortable on something, then we start to expand. We now have a staff and contributors all across the country. community. So we want to be, as inclusive as possible with the contributors we work with. The same is the case for the creators that submit to us in terms of the comic books that we publish. For us, it's really about just kind of staying in our lane, making sure that what we're doing is done well in a high quality. And I'm sure that doing a podcast, even with we have a slate of podcasts that we do, we don't want to grow too big. And even if we only have 5 listeners, I'm just making it up, but even if we only have 5 listeners, we want those listeners to have a high quality podcast, just as if we had a million podcast listeners.
Of
So
course.
for us, putting our all into something is of paramount concern, and just doing the best that we can, because we want people to enjoy what it is that we're putting out, no matter if it's comic books, if it's podcasts, reviews, interviews, and we want people to get a positive message from it, to feel included rather than excluded. So that's really for the goal for us.
Hey,
but
love it. Where you from?
Yeah.
What's your background? Your heritage?
I'm mostly Italian, and then some Russian as well.
Epa, nice, man. I like this though. You're giving back to all communities. I mean,
Yeah.
did you grow up in a diverse community as a kiddo?
Pittsburgh is an interesting town. It's very much an immigrant town, so I think there's a very hardworking immigrant ethic to everyone who comes from Pittsburgh. I really do see that as, hard work and dedication is the backbone of Fanbase Press and what we're about. So, I want our readers and I want our fans and folks that work with us to feel that we take them seriously, that we're dedicated to what we're doing, no matter if we're publishing their book or promoting it, no matter if we have staff that are working with us. We want them to feel like they have a very comfortable, inclusive home, that they can feel comfortable to be themselves, that they can feel supported, no matter how they're associated. And of course, we want that with our fans as well.
You know what? And I see that because you are one of those few independent companies that actually do promote the hell out of your creative staff. And I love that. Because, listen, I've been doing this for a while, right? As a press site. And let me tell you, there's not many companies that will show the love and promotion. Like, I don't get one email for you and then it's a one and done. It's like, no, check it out. There's a process here. We got stuff coming. Check this, check this, check this. And, you keep me in the loop, which helps, because now that shows to me that you, as a publisher, really do care about those creative talents on your team. So I want you to talk about the creation of Fanbase Press. Why was it named Fanbase Press? When did that happen? How did it happen? What made it happen?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, we started as Fanboy Comics in 2010, and then in about 2015, we had amassed quite a contributor list and a creator list, both in our media part of the company and publishing. And at that time, the term fanboy really started to turn. There started to be a negative connotation to it. And for us, wanting to be always and foremost a very inclusive platform and community, we didn't feel right, especially for our marginalized creators, our marginalized contributors, women, trans individuals. We wanted them, as well as our fans, from the get-go, from looking just at our name, to know this is a safe space for you. This is an inclusive, safe space for you to be. And so being Fanboy Comics, that just didn't, that didn't necessarily give that
Yeah, the
sense.
name didn't relay that quite well.
Exactly. And plus, we were expanding quite a bit by then. We had published some non-comic books. We had published a poetry book and a geeky cross-stitch book. So we wanted to also note in our name that we did more than just comics. So we changed and rebranded the entire company top down to Fanbase Press in 2016, and just wanted to be sure that folks were, again, clear from the get-go, whether they were our readers and fans or the staff and contributors and creators involved with us, that this is what we're about. We're about an inclusive, safe space where you can celebrate who you are, celebrate your fandoms, all in the same space. So
I love it. Talk about that, though, that tagline, celebrating fandoms and creating new ones. How did you guys come up with that bad boy? Because again, we're entrepreneurs too here, kiddo. We got to talk about this whole journey of where you came from, with, those real seeds of your creativity. Because again, even though you're a publisher, but you're doing your thing. You're sharing so much with the world. So again, thank you. So talk about
Of
that.
course, yeah. So we are creators ourselves, and we are fans of a lot of different things. And like you, Al, our fans and what we're about is about celebrating all different mediums, no matter if it's comics, movies, TV, gaming, theater, all of it is included. And so we want to celebrate all of it, even if it's not something that we publish, not, something directly associated with us. But then we do create our own content. So we are not only celebrating all of the different fandoms out there, but creating new ones that folks can enjoy, hopefully for years and decades to come. So that's really where that came from. And then really the spark of that was looking at other publishing companies and figuring out, as we were rebranding, how can we really encapsulate in one tagline what we're about, who we are, and what we do. So really that's where that came from. And hopefully it does exude that positivity and that safe space and that inclusiveness in what we do.
Gotcha. And doing this press, and you also celebrate people outside of your brand, correct? 'Cause
Absolutely.
see, folks, see how amazing she is. I mean, it ain't just about fan base; it's about the culture. So I
Absolutely.
love that you do, and I hear kiddo crying in the background.
Yes,
Hope
I'm
the
sorry.
kiddo's okay.
Yes, I had twin girls in December. So
Twins in
yes,
December. Congrats! What are their names?
Sabrina and Ophelia.
Oh, Sabrina, God bless your
Thank
twins.
you.
Is that something that ran in your family, or you're the
Both
first?
both sides of the family actually had twins, so
Really?
it was inevitable that twins were in our
You're
future.
like, damn you, bro! How dare you split my egg in two, you bastard! Oh, that's awesome, yo. So, how you feel, yo? Are you gonna have them as part of the Fanbase Press family too?
Oh,
What's popping?
absolutely. They've got Fanbase Press onesies already.
Hey,
Once it's
I
safe to
love
go
it.
back to cons, they'll absolutely be behind the booth once it's safe to do so. But yes, absolutely, they'll be a
Oh,
part of the family business.
that's a great question, because I know, like I said earlier, I have seen you at the con at San Diego Comic Con, and
Mhm.
you were just so occupied that I just didn't want to bother you. I'm like, I'm this little press site. Let her do her thing. I'm proud that she's kicking ass, and I probably went around 3 times. I'm like, wow, this swamp. And I love that, because that means that people understand the truth of fan base press. Y'all just like us. Yeah, we share the same damn colors, kiddo.
Yeah. Well, you are never bothering me. Please, if you ever see me at a con, please come over and say hello. I would love to see you.
Next time. But when I see you hustling, and when I see somebody hustling, it's like, yo, let them just go on that road. I don't want to disturb that rhythm, because I know how it is. you know. But again, that's always what attracted me to fan base. So you do this awesome book called Kinsei. Y'all did that as a bilingual hardcover. Y'all got nuclear power, a whole bunch of stuff. So talk about some of the titles within your press, the creatives with that are work on those titles. And of course, where can we get them? Because we need this in our lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'll start with Kinsei. Kinsei, for those who may be unfamiliar, is a series about a Latina young woman who gets superpowers on her quinceañera, but only for the year she's 15. It was an Eisner Award nominated series, and we released it. Oh, thank you. We released it first digitally in both English and Spanish on Comixology, and then we collected an English language trade paperback. But last year, unfortunately, timed with the pandemic, we put out an oversized hardcover that it's kind of like the flip books that you get on Free Comic Book Day, where on one side you get the entire English language version, and then if you flip it over, you get the same thing in Spanish. So
Damn COVID! I hate
know.
you, COVID.
But it was created by Sebastian Kadlicik, and he really wanted to create a story that talked about his family and his heritage, and it's such a beautiful story and so uplifting. It was written by Kit Steinkellner and illustrated by her sister, Emma Steinkellner, and it's such a beautiful story. The hardcover itself has loads of bonus features. Gloria Calderon-Kellett, who's the executive producer of One Day at a Time, did one of the forewords. Peter Murrieta, who's an Emmy Award-winning creator, executive producer. He did another foreword, but there's a study guide. There's an art gallery by
nice.
all Latinx creators. So it's absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love it. So highly
Thank you
recommend
for
it.
doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, this is like Hispanic Heritage Month, Latino Heritage Month, Latinx Heritage Month, however you guys want to use it. But yo, that's a book you guys definitely need to pick up. And it definitely is sad that awesome release, COVID hit, and it kind of like definitely messed up that vibe, man. Because people need to know
Absolutely.
about
But
this awesome project.
you can still get the book. You can either go to the Fanbase Press website
Right
under our
there. Hey.
exactly under the publishing drop down, or you can just go to kinseicomic.com. It'll take you to the exact same place. But the other great series that we have is Nuclear Power, which was also created by Latinx creators Desiree Proctor and Erica Harrell, and it's also
I
illustrated.
gotta ask you though before
Yeah,
you continue. You
of
messing
course.
with me. I swear to God, you keep finding Latino creators that when I see their last name, it's like they, they're lying really with that last name. Like yo, you be
Yeah.
messing with me, son. And I love it though because, but it expands my stupid ignorance of like
Oh
what
goodness, no.
us Latinos really come from all parts. Like our
Absolutely.
last name should not be an indicator of where we're from. Although
Sure.
sometimes I question it, and then when I find out, I'm like, wow, I feel stupid.
Oh no, you're certainly not. You're certainly not. But it's also, I'll mention that it's illustrated beautifully by Lin Yoshii. All three creators came from the DC Comics Talent Workshop that's run by Scott
Oh.
Snyder. So super talented
They
bunch,
came to fan base after that. They said,
right?
screw DC. Who needs DC, right?
What were they thinking? But Erica and Desiree, it was inspired by their mother's experiences. Their mothers are both from Cuba, and they immigrated to America following
Oh,
the Cuban Missile
Cubanas.
Crisis.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's the story is really inspired by their mother's experience in having to Americanize when they came to the country, and how there's this xenophobia that obviously still exists in our country. Um,
Unfortunately, because the
Unfortunately,
Puerto
yeah.
Rican, we're citizens,
Hmm.
but we're treated still like foreigners. I mean,
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
recently in this Hispanic Heritage Month, they talked about the Borinqueniers, right? The all Puerto Rican army troop. My uncle was one of them
Oh,
in
really?
the Korean War. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So when I saw the report here in Florida of the last living member, when he said I'm the last one, I teared up so much. I'm like, yeah, my uncle
Yeah,
was one of them. He should have been here still.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But I get
Yeah.
that. And again, that's what I want to thank you because you share so many different types of experiences, and not just Latino, but you
Yeah.
share so many different experiences. And why is that so important to you, Barbara, to share that?
It's having been an indie creator, and I'm sure Al that you can commiserate with this. There are a lot of barriers out there to being
Too
able
many.
to share amazing and really incredible stories by talented creators. There are so many barriers, not just for the independent press, but for the creators themselves. Especially marginalized creators from a number of different backgrounds, and not just ethnicity or gender, but also physical abilities.
Hmm.
Able-bodied individuals or ageism. There's so many different barriers to
And
getting.
I hire everybody at Comic Crusaders. I don't care about your age. I don't care about your ability. You know what? If you love this,
Mhm.
be a part of us. That's all I really care
Exactly.
about. That you are a genuine fan. That's all I really care
Exactly.
about.
And that's what's important to us. We want to be inclusive, and we want to be able to help creators who have these amazing stories, but who are facing lots of barriers or who would otherwise not be able to share their incredible stories. We want to be, we have the ability, we have the means, so we want to be able to help these people to do what they love and to share their voice and their story. So really, that's exactly why we do it. And if we can be a small cog in the giant machine and break down some of those barriers and get the story read, even if it's by 10 people, by 20 people, that's 20 people that are worth it, that may have been impacted by the stories. Maybe the characters resonated with them, maybe before they were never able to see themselves on the page. We want to be able to provide that opportunity, even if it's a handful of people that benefit from it.
I love it. Bob, your energy is so crazy. I love it because it's really so good intention. Thank you. Those are
Yeah.
such kind words because this is what we need in the community. Again, comics are in fact for everyone. And anybody that tries to be a gatekeeper, like I hate that shit. I even sometimes have to talk to people from that community, not because again, I'm here to celebrate independent comics, but the one thing I will never celebrate is any hate. So the one thing I will always tell everybody is like, well, if you happen to be a part of that, don't do that on air because I will like block you to f off really quick because I'm
Heck yeah.
like that. But I'm also about just celebrating indie because everybody needs their chance. That's the spotlight. We don't know what anyone enjoys, right? But I'm here to
Absolutely.
celebrate it as a whole. But what I love about what you do is like you really helping so many different communities share that voice, and that's powerful. Like I hope to one day have my own press. I have the idea, but I'm not willing to do it yet because there's so many amazing people like you already doing what I'm doing. So it's like,
Oh, well, when
you
you
know,
do,
that
let me know because I will be happy to shout from the rooftops that you're doing it.
yeah. Listen, I want to do it, but it'll be soon. But first, I want everybody else to just keep rocking, and I'm going to celebrate you guys by inviting people like you onto this platform to talk about the greatness about what you do, about that true heart stuff that you do, about being a real person. We need that so much, Barbara,
Oh, well, thank
in
you.
the
And
in the
I
community.
I appreciate the time to talk about it. It means so much to us to be able to do this work and to have the impact that hopefully we do. So being able to share it with your listeners and your viewers, we appreciate it immensely.
Yeah, I want to know one thing here, Barbara. In this whole journey, as you've been on it, what is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned that you didn't expect that you'd like to share?
I think it's that I guess the biggest thing would be that there's no one right way to do this. I think that a lot of times I've over the years, in the past 11 years of doing this company, I have been very fortunate to do a lot of panels at various conventions across the country, and a lot of times aspiring creators will ask, how do I make a comic or how do I self-publish? How do I um, submit to other publishers? And, I've sat amongst other creators, which, they are absolutely welcome to their opinions, but they say, you have to print this way, you have to create this way, you have to promote this way. And for me, having done it, and like we talked about, there are times that some things will work and times that other things won't work. But if you only have so many resources, if you only have certain means to be able to do something, there's really no right or wrong way. A lot of times we see that in Hollywood, where they'll say, oh, there's only this type of movie you can make, or you can only do it this way, or you can only
Yeah,
tell this kind of story. And then someone breaks the mold, and then it becomes this absolute iconic superstar success. And I think that's evidence that there's no right or wrong way to do it. If it
there
works
isn't.
for you, do it. If that's the only way you can do it, try it. If it fails, okay, you learned and you can
Lesson
try another way.
learned.
Yes,
I love it.
exactly.
I love how you said that because my perfect example is when Hollywood talks like that, all I hear is wah, 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 wah. Like, shut
Absolutely.
up. I'm going to do what I do. You know what? And it's definitely about that. This community is so large and vast, right? And the tastes are so wide and varied. I mean, we could do things for everybody. Fan base is already doing that. You got slice of life, you got action, you got fun, you got superheroism. I mean, you got it all. I love what you're doing, Barb's, with the fan base
Thank
press.
you.
It's like it's an amazing journey. I'm more than proud to have been a part and see your consistent growth in it in the years that we've been supporting you. And this is why I feel so happy right now. I almost feel like I'm geeking out in a way. I'm trying to like
Oh,
stop myself. But
no need.
you've been nah, yo. But again, because you're on what I do. You're a person that's all about celebrating it, and that means you're my peer. But more than that, I could look at you as a mentor because I've learned a lot from you in the journey, even how you do things. Like I said, Big Two don't even promote the creators like you do. And that's a beautiful thing. People don't know. If you're on Impress, y'all don't know. If y'all press people, please hit up Barbara like ASAP. Join that press list, and you're gonna see exactly what I mean. How Fanbase like really promotes their creators. It's like all love. Here's this, whatever you need, right before it comes out, not a day before, like a couple of days before, giving you enough time to share in the greatness of their projects. If there was more people like you, my job would be so much easier.
I think
I
that's the
swear.
interesting thing is and if you get into publishing yourself, you'll experience this as well. But given that we have the multifaceted sides of the company and being a press and supporting other creators and getting the word about their work, but also having to be the publisher and reach out to folks, you see what the where the difficulties are, what would be more helpful when you're reaching out to people. So it's
I figured that out a long time ago. Okay, if I want action, this is all I gotta say. And
exactly.
there's just certain power words that you could use
Hmm.
people. I'm not going to share that here. I'm about to do a school a lesson. Like, y'all going to have to pay for that. Let me tell you, I'll teach you how to do this for real, because again, this is the journey, and there's a lot of bumps in the road. But when you start going and seeing everyone that you're helping, the rewards, right? Just the rewards of a thank you. For me, that's worth $1 million. Oh, thank you for sharing. Like, when you send me a message and say, yo, thank you for sharing that. I mean, yes, folks, she even sends you an email or a message on a DM saying like, yo, thank you for shouting us out. Like, who does that? Why do you do that, Barbs? Real talk. Like, why do you feel like when you see that you have to say that thank you?
I recognize the work and the time and the energy that goes into doing these things. I don't want to take anything for granted, because I know that you've got, likely your own family or your own life and your own work going on. And the fact that this is not paid work necessarily that a lot of people do, especially for independent creators to support their work. So I don't take it lightly that folks help to support us, that they do a review or post a preview or do an interview with our creators. So I certainly don't take that lightly. So I want folks to know that it's immensely appreciated every time they do.
Okay, I swear to God, you're my entrepreneur crush right now. You're awesome. I love it. You're awesome. I'm digging it, yo. You're awesome. So, folks, this has been Barbra Dillon. She's from Fanbase Press. I want you guys to go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Y'all don't know. You guys are missing out if you don't know. So, hopefully, you guys can learn right now, very simply by going to fanbasepress.com. Check out all the amazing projects that Barbra helps, bring to fruition through that press label. Barbra, let me give you your flowers. Thank you. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for sharing of yourself. Thank you for putting yourself out there. Thank you for willing to take a chance on independent. Thank you for being awesome.
Oh, and likewise,
some real talk.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Nah, man, this has been great. Like I said, we've been following you for years, and I hope I could keep following you for another 50 years and more. Because Fanbase Press is where it's at. Fanbase is awesome, folks. Again, please visit the website, sign up, learn all about everything that they do, because they are doing a little bit of everything for everyone. And that's what makes them amazing, not just in comics, but also in the multimedia aspect with podcasts and all. So good stuff on you. God bless you and your twins. Your twins, kiddo. I can't wait to see what they bring to Fanbase in the future. It's going to be insane. Hey, the Dillons are going to be rocking it out, son. Yeah, that's right. I can't wait. And with that, I'm Al Mega with Barbra Dillon, Fanbase Press. You know what to do in the outro. Much love, mi gente. Hasta la próxima.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.